this is time where shit gets real, and I think he's going to start bringing real heat. But spawning over in the bottom left-hand side to get things going, playing for Team Cascade, it is SKillous.
And over here on the top right-hand side of the map, we have the red Zerg player from Team XCOM Ago. He is Elazer.
But yeah, Elazer, he's always been this like very timing attack orientated Zerg, but and I remember I used to make fun of him so much about like he made a tweet about how he's gonna go back to macro and stuff, and you know, it was like, Elazer, you were never the macro Zerg. But I'll be super honest, he's rounded out his play a lot. Like he actually can do a lot. I know we sometimes kind of make fun of the Elazer overlords where he makes a few too many when he hits 200 supply, but that's like one of the only things I can actually like discredit him for. Everything else, I think all round, he's a very, very solid and capable player, and also a scary player given that he can just punish you.
Yeah. I actually want to also just shout out Elazer and say, I think there have been across the history of StarCraft, or just esports in general, right? There's always a lot of those players that see that momentary success because they have a very aggressive or like momentary effective playstyle. I think Elazer kind of got painted that way by a lot of people back when he made his big BlizzCon runs to the semifinals and like, oh man, he kind of like cheesed his way through all that stuff, or found these little timing attacks like you were talking about, Ben. But I mean, Elazer has absolutely shown the staying power that you can't be a consistent name in the top of a scene with just that. You have to have like a rounded up play. You have to have some diversity and some skill level across the board, and Elazer has absolutely shown that. So I'm always a big Elazer fan, especially I think ever since like back in the day when he was just duking it out with Nurchio all the time and trying to rise up as a player. And it's great to see him grow to the point where I agree he is one of those top names in Europe. And I'm always waiting to see if Elazer is gonna be like kind of in the same situation as Big Gabe, where it's like trying to break into that top 3.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I don't want to mistake the idea of that you can timing attack people with him just being cheesy, because it's not at all. It's just a way of how to analyze replays, and he can look to better himself, but he will also look to see the weaknesses of his opponent. And not a lot of players always do that. Like you know, you can go into a game, you can go into a tournament, like a bracket tournament, where it's just like, okay, I'm gonna do this is really good, yada, yada, yada. He will specifically study his opponents and look for the weaknesses in the opponents, which may sound like, oh yeah, of course he should do that, but it takes a lot of effort. So this kind of stuff, this could be just because he did this kind of studying and knows when SKillous's units are going to be out. Like, look, he's producing a lot of lings with this. So SKillous, he has to react to this. This is the kind of timing attack I was talking about.
Oh man, oh, the wall not completely walled off over there. So now the Adept gonna have a lot of surface area for the attack. There's no more Adepts coming out right now. That gateway isn't producing anything right now, Ben. The Void Ray is gonna eventually clean up a lot of this stuff. There are drones pulled to this, Ben.
I mean, this is cheesy / all-in, but a beautiful, beautiful timing. It's caught SKillous with his pants down. SKillous was even smiling while this was going on. The drones, they don't even need to be here. He decides to go back home. He can get all the damage he wants with just these lings, actually. And even though his drone count is super low behind this, SKillous ain't mining one little bit here. He's got the Oracle. That will deal with the lings, or at least it will help. But, man, he's set back to the Stone Age.
Oh, working stalled at 0.3 seconds, Ben. Oh, God. That's going to be a quick GG. Elazer gets some momentum immediately as the series starts. And, I mean, really just goes to show how effective he can be if you give him any weakness whatsoever.
Yeah, and yeah, so I'm going to apologize to the people at home. I was busy talking about like how Elazer kind of goes into series and stuff, and how he like really likes to approach games. And I think that game kind of nailed it. Like, players will have styles that they stick to. They'll have builds that they stick to. And you might be like, hey, you can just make... There's only so much mixing up you can do that you can still be really damn good at. And SKillous going into the rest of this series now, he has to know like, Oh damn, that's a super weakness of my build that I was doing here. I need to look out for the rest of this series because this guy, like Elazer, I remember playing a best of 5 against him in a tournament, and I think the best of 5 probably lasted 15 minutes. Ravi, like he 3-0'd me, and he found out. He practiced with Special, and he told Special to do the exact builds that I did on these specific maps, and he did the perfect all-in against each one of them. So just to credit that Elazer is a very, very smart player when it comes to this kind of stuff, and it is a lot more difficult than you think. It requires way more prep, but in a totally different way. And yeah, SKillous now. I love this kind of StarCraft, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really going to be tough. SKillous is going to, I'm sure when you're facing off against a player like that, and especially when game number 1 goes like that, you just feel like, oh man, where are all the little holes in my play? How does he know, like, if I'm going to be moving out the adept right now? Should I change up some of my usual game plan so that he can't just abuse the little weaknesses or something? So it's going to be a tough spot, but we're going to be moving into game number 2 here on Blackburn. Down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have the red Zerg player from Team XCOM Ugo sitting up 1-0. He is Elazer.
And spawning over in the bottom right in what was a very, very short game so far, it is SKillous.
Yeah, Ben, I'm really curious, since you are, the closest to being a competitor. I'm very far away from being a competitor. How do you usually feel in like SKillous' shoes after a game like that, when you feel like maybe there's these little openings or weaknesses with your build order or the way that you've been playing, and it kind of just gets exploited in that first game of a best of 5?
It feels pretty terrible, Ravi, I must admit. Like, I've probably been one of the pro players that was streaming a lot during my career, and I remember playing against Suppy one time. In fact, I have a huge history of getting pwned based on the fact that my play was so readily available. I remember getting like 12 pull Baneling twice in a row. Yeah, like just ridiculous stuff. So yeah, it can definitely shake you up a little bit. And I've been watching SKillous' body language in the camera. Like, I'm not going to say he looks defeated already, but he's been reacting very strongly, which I don't normally see from him, whereas Elazer, just sat, cool, calm, doesn't even look like his webcam is actually moving at all. Looks like it's froze screened. Yeah, it can definitely shake you up a little bit, and knowing that your opponent has looked at you maybe more than you've looked at yourself, yeah, that's a worrisome thought.
Oh man, yeah. It's gonna be a tough road ahead, but it was just game 1. There's still a little bit of leeway to try and figure things out and hopefully change things up, I think, for SKillous. Not even necessarily from his game plan, but just try to micromanage some of the small things. Like in that last game, of course, the 2 or so lings getting in was a bit problematic or kind of annoying, but there were small other things that also could have gone a bit better in that last game for SKillous, like the adept not quite being the full wall off could have bought a little bit more time, having a slightly faster reaction to some of the lings coming forward. There's small things that at least SKillous can take heart in that could have been adapted. And you're just going to see yet another Stargate opening coming out from SKillous, which I don't think comes as big surprise to almost anyone.
No, like, yeah, if we just look at this game a little bit. So SKillous went for an early hatch block kind of thing. It worked. Elazer was very quick to go take his hatch elsewhere. He's gone for an adept, then a stalker. This, for Elazer, could be like, okay, so is this potentially an adept build? So you're trying to hide tech? Usually it doesn't signal a Stargate. And that's why he isn't going for a Void Ray immediately. He's gone for this to hide tech in some way so he can then deal damage afterwards with the Oracle. So it's nice to know that SKillous will get into a game here, won't just get absolutely shut down. And yeah, right now Elazer doesn't necessarily know what he's up against, but he is making the blind spore crawlers already, which just goes to show that this guy knows his stuff.
Yeah, already staying on point, so respecting the possibility of having some of those oracles fly on in, as I think the first oracle just finished on up, and SKillous is actually just going to bank them up. So he's going to try to dive in there when he has 2 oracles, so he can one-shot some of those workers, get a little bit more damage done, and maybe catch a Elazer with a little bit off guard or kind of by surprise. Actually, I think Elazer, he let 1 spore crawler finish, so that is kind of like the absolute minimum. And you can sort of just defend with 2 queens at the other base, and your third base just doesn't really have a whole lot of workers. So we'll see if maybe Elazer is just going to be a little bit less prepared than natural. But oh man, he's actually just flooding out a decent chunk of lings while adding him that Roach Horn right now, Ben.
Yeah, the Roach Horn is a safety Roach Horn just in case this was like maybe, you know, a depth turning up, which they have to go back home actually to deal with this amount of lings by the looks of it, which is gnarly for him. The Oracles, though, they do get to the main base. They're starting to work on drones now, but one might fall to these Queens getting a shot, but 6 drone kills for one Oracle. That's not too terrible.
Yeah, and now we have another Sport Crawler at that natural that Elazer eventually ended up getting. He's adding on a ton more workers behind all this to try and play it a little bit catch up because he's got so many lings out on the map.
Oh.
He's ready to try and cancel this third base. The adept count is just not that high right now. And as these lings get further and further of a surround, the pylon's finished up. More adepts are going to get warped in, but those are just going to get killed as they warp in. Oracle finally comes forward. I think the Oracle will at least save the third base. But losing effectively every single unit that you had out on the map except for the flying ones, that is not the start SKillous wanted this game.
No, like losing that many adepts, how many was it? Like 8 or so went down to just a bunch of Zerglings. Elazer bought so much time, didn't have to worry about getting his drones killed with all that. Like, yeah, he lost a few to the Oracle, but I think that was a trade that Elazer was very happy with. Like, surprise, like, of the Oracles turning up, just 6 drones dead. You kill an Oracle, and then you kill all the Adepts as well. A great start for Elazer. Now he can just drone up like a madman. SKillous on the other side of things, going for the Fleet Beacon, along with the second Stargate this game. He's going to be a bit cheeky.
Yes, he is. Wow, immediately just starting up his first carry. I mean, this, if Elazer gets wind of this, though, that might end up being a bit of a problem, I think, for SKillous, just because when you go into carriers, which take a very long time to build, after you just lost your entire army, there's either the option for what you were talking about, Ben, where Elazer just says, well, I literally know I don't have to worry about anything. There's 4 adepts or 5 adepts that are going to poking around the map. That's all he really has to worry about. And he can just drone up like a madman, get up all the tech, expand with absolutely zero fear, because he knows there's 0 things that SKillous can do to him for a while.
I am a little bit worried for SKillous because I was looking at this and I was like, okay, what tech is Elazer going to go for? If he was going to go for a Hydra push or something, carriers are actually not bad, but if he's going to get this scout off and he sees the first carrier as it's come out, that is huge. He already has a Spire on the way as well. We all know that carriers suck against Corruptors. Elazer's just one step ahead here. It really feels like he's got a good read on what his opponent is capable of, but also just... yeah, it just very smart play by Elazer.
You know, I actually do like that SKillous is not doing the I'm just gonna make 4, 6, 8 carriers or just kind of really power up on carriers immediately only, and that he is actually adding on both the Void Race and also the Flux Vein upgrade, because after getting scouted, this is going to be really important. The Oracle comes on forward. It unfortunately just dies right to the Sport Crawler, so a little bit miscontrolled there, but the Lings continue to try and harass over here for a Elazer. I think that SKillous, I like his reaction, given how bad the situation already is, at least.
That's good that you point that out. It is a bad situation for him. Like, nothing has really gone right. The supply's a little bit deceiving here, because these carriers, they're actually going to get quite a few drones here. They weren't met by a lot of anti-air, maybe enough anti-air. He's going to start running home now. I think I'm just going to check if he has recall available. He does, which means that these carriers aren't in fear of dying anytime soon. But Elazer denies the 4th base attempt by SKillous while all this is going on.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough right now, because with 14 Corruptors already out on the map for Elazer. Yeah, oh no, he didn't recall the carry. Okay, he's recalling them now. I think one might go down past shields. No, it decides to just keep flying on over. But I mean, what is there really to protect it? I don't think the Void Ray count is high enough. There's only, what, 5 Void Rays?
It's definitely not enough, and they're caught away from a shield battery as well. And Elazer is just going to be happy to take these down. Like, his economy's way better. Like, that is not enough Void Rays to deal significant damage. And maybe the carrier's turn. He can pop a shield battery overcharge, right? Does he have energy? I mean, there's damage going on elsewhere. Elazer's defending the attack. He's killing all the air as well. Now he's just producing nothing but units. And SKillous, oh, again below 100 supply. And look at his body posture here. That is... he looked a little defeated earlier. He looks super defeated now.
Honestly, Ben, right now, like, what do? You have 2 Stalkers and 3 Void Rays. There's 3 more Void Rays on the way that can hold versus an infinite number of these ground units, you know, if you don't need everything else on the ground to survive. GG, Elazer goes up 2-0 in this best of 5. Dominating performance so far.
You know, we talked about it before, Ravi. Like, a lot of this matchup can be about who's the alpha, you know, who's dictating the pace and stuff. And so far, all of SKillous's attempts to do anything, they've just been shut down by the pole. And you can really tell that Elazer, he's not allowing SKillous to play his game. He's making SKillous play his game.
I couldn't agree more, Ben. We're going to give poor SKillous a little bit of time, give him a bit of a break to maybe take his Chad pills and see if he can muster up something to happen in game number 3. We'll see you guys in a little bit. After a short break, we have given these players a little bit of time to collect themselves, given SKillous a bit of time to channel his inner Chad as we move on to the chattest map of all, Ben. We're heading on to Beckett Industries, a map that has been vetoed over 100 times this season.
I'm not surprised. It is one of the shortest rush distance maps we've ever had. It's got the speed zones in the middle and stuff, but I actually like it, Ravi. I like it more than Submarine and what have you. So, I'm not a hater at all. And spawning over in the bottom left-hand side as our Red Zerg, playing for Team Argo, sponsored by SCOM, it is Elazer.
And up here in the top right-hand side of the map, we have the blue Protoss player. It is Cascade's SKillous.
Poor Skillous, man. That little lad in the webcam, he's just, oh, my heart kind of melts a little bit, you know, because I do think Skillous is a lot better than this series is showing, but again, it is a lot about, like, Elazer can totally throw you off your own game. And if a player gets to do that, it means all your prep is almost invalid. Like, no matter how much homework you did for that test, you're going to turn up and it's like, oh, damn, this is on a different subject entirely. Like, all my studying is totally irrelevant.
No kidding, man. It is so tough. It is actually just the feeling like you showed up, you were really prepared, and then you suddenly feel like, wait a second, no, I'm not prepared for this test at all. You know, I thought that my history test was today, but it was my math quiz, and it's not a good feeling. But in that kind of mental state where you're already down also 2-0, there's no more room for error. You have to play on a very, very aggressive map because of that short rush distance, because of the speed zones that you were talking about, Ben. And you have to play it versus an aggressive player. Like, this is do or die right now, man. This is actually Skillous at the edge of the cliff, kind of holding on, and we're going to see if we can pull off some magic here.
Yeah, we definitely are. And, you know, I look at this map as well, and I'm like, I am scared of those queen walk potentials. Like, you go through 2 speed zones, and you can move up to the 3rd base of your opponent, and you're right there. But I am looking forward to see how Skillous handles this map. So far, it looks like he's just showcasing the same build that he's been doing, which is the Adept, probably getting the Stargate. Yes, exactly that. I think Elazer, when he has this Overlord above the Warp Gate and he sees Warp Gate is delayed, he can then be like, oh, okay, I know what you're actually spending your gas on. So maybe Elazer's scouting is just that clean and his knowledge is that good of when Protoss do things. And that's probably why he built the spores so well in the second game.
Yeah, you know, Ben, I want to ask you something. I know that a lot of players tend to have, like, the maps on the ladder and stuff that they veto. This is the most vetoed map typically, and I think from what I've seen or heard, it's usually the Terran players that tend to like a lot this map, more so than, say, Protoss or Zerg. So I think that a lot of Protoss players also tend to not play this map a ton. Do you think that this is one of those maps that Skillous probably has a lot of experience on, or maybe he's just playing kind of the same style and everything just because he hasn't played this map as much?
I'm not sure, you know. Like, I know Zergs don't like this map against Terran just because the tank positionings are so damn good, never mind the push distances. And I guess for Protoss as well, like, don't necessarily like playing against Terran. But when it comes to this matchup, I'm not entirely sure. Like, in my head, I do know that Queen walks, if you can reduce that by any distance or any time, that it's good. That being said, I don't think Skillous is necessarily the kind of guy that's like, oh yeah, I won't play that map, or players in general. I think this map pool is about as wholesome as we've had in quite some time.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And we are seeing a little bit of a deviation from before. After opening up with the Stargate and the safety void ray and everything that hunts down the Overlords, which I think is just generally solid these days, he is going to be opening up into something we don't see nearly as often these days, Ben. He's going into a charge lot all in. This is actually quite a treat to see.
It is, and so far, this Roach Warren hasn't started being produced yet at all. And that's the one thing that Elazer... Okay. As I say that, he logged into what I was saying telepathically and was like, okay, I need a Roach Warren. It's kind of a safety one. Normally you want it up a little bit earlier, especially against this. But Elazer's scouting so far has been on point, and no third has started yet. Okay. So this is a super fake third. Like, when Elazer spots this, due to his good scouting, he's going to be like, oh, okay, maybe I'm playing a macro game here. And we absolutely know that is not happening.
Yeah, he was like, oh no, okay, you softened up my Nexus. I really want to defend this base. But in actuality, charge is getting closer and closer to finishing. It's very important you don't reveal how many warp gates you have right now with your warp ends. He also, I think, manages to avoid having the warp prism scouted as well. So I think around now, Elazer should have already realized, okay, there's not an Oracle follow-up or anything coming on out. And the warp prism evades the Zerglings again. This is amazing. He's getting to the edge of creep without having been scouted so far.
He's a little bit supply blocked now for the moment in time. So this, every second counts. Like, every second super counts. This is kind of bad for him. I can't believe Elazer's still droning. Like, the boy has not scouted a single thing, and this, yeah, he had no idea. He shakes his head. He's like, oh, damn, I got caught being the greediest person in existence. And this is the first game of the series that SKillous was like, yeah, I'm going to play my game this time. And he's smiling. He's so happy about it.
Oh my god. To emphasize how caught off guard Elazer was in that game,